You know what they say, which is better late than never. I am finally back to talk about everything that I read in the month of March. Let's just jump into it, shall we? I'm gonna be so honest with you. Dog days of summer are really kind of getting to me. March was a very slow reading month for me. Life is what it is, you know? All this to say, short video today, I only have 3 books. One I DNF'd, one that I liked, and one that I really didn't like. Now let's just go in order from worst to best. Starting off with One Wish by Carr. This is another old book. I have a problem with thrifting old books, yada yada, we know this. Here's the thing, I saw this at a thrift store and I really wanted to get it because Carr is the same person who wrote Virgin River, and while I have not read Virgin River, I've done one of those cardinal sins of people who like to read, and I watched the show first. And I really like the show, to be honest. It's on Netflix, and I wanted to read Virgin River, but I didn't want to like ruin the show for myself, and so I was like, this is perfect, I'll just read some different Carr. I hope you can't hear my rooster screaming outside. Long story short, didn't enjoy it at all. One Wish is about Grace Dillon, who was a champion figure skater before moving to Thunder Point to escape the ruthless world of fame and competition. And though she's proud of her quiet, self-sufficient life, she knows something's missing and she could use a little excitement. In a community where there are few eligible singles, high school teacher Troy Headley appoints himself Grace's fun coach when he suggests a little bit of companionship with no strings attached. But then things get complicated when Grace's past catches up with her, and she knows that is not what Troy signed up for. But faced with losing her, Troy realizes that Grace is more than just a friend with benefits, and maybe they can find real love along the way. I mean, right off the bat, I don't love when the back cover gives away so much of the story, and also in my opinion, it's a little bit maybe of a tired trope of just being like, hey, we're gonna hang out, no strings attached, but they end up falling in love. Like, I'm one who loves the cliche. Like, I do not hold that against romance as a genre at all. Like, I love my cliches, I love my tropes. That being said, this one seems a little like it's not trying to put its spin on it. Seems a little just kind of repeating the same formula. I don't know, just an opinion. Here's where we bring out my trusty physical reading journal where I get my first knee-jerk reactions. This is what I had to say. Basically, I only made it until chapter 2, and then I skimmed around to see if it got any better, and when it didn't, I completely DNF'd it. Honestly, part of it is this male lead and his like weird list for his dream girl that I think is problematic. I just in general found him sort of personality-less and quite honestly obnoxious. I also didn't really feel like there was any chemistry or like natural connection between our 2 main characters. This is a little bit of a spoiler if for some reason you haven't read this very old book and you want to skip ahead. I know there is like a pregnancy reveal where she talks to him later in the book. I skipped to that part to just kind of see like what their relationship looked like at that much more developed stage. It was awkward and weird. I also put that I thought the female lead's motivations felt unrealistic, like both characters just sort of existed to serve a plot. Here's a very niche like criticism that I would give if I was in say like a writing workshop. There is an arc going on in the story in which she's sort of has this past trauma from a sexual assault encounter, which is so weird because it doesn't happen to her. She's like 1 or 2 people removed from it. And it's one of those things where you would just say to the writer, like, is there any reason that this can't happen to your main character so that it feels a lot more connected and a lot more relevant? Why does it have to be viewed through the shade of like 2 different characters away, you know? On top of that, as I was bouncing around, it sort of like brushed over her brief kidnapping, which actually does become relevant and is very personal to her. I just felt like this book made so many odd choices, and it was just different like cliches that were sort of thrown together. Again, I've never read Carr before. For all I know, this is like her 200th book and she was just like cared a little bit less. I don't know. I'm sure Carr is fantastic. She's gotta be if she wrote a series that inspired Virgin River, which I think is fantastic. My closing thought in my physical reading journal was that every time I DNF a book, it feels a little bit easier. So yeah, I don't want to spend any more like time on this. Basically, you can totally disregard my opinion if you want. Again, I did not read this cover to cover. I read the first couple chapters straight through, and then I just sort of bounced around to see if anything in there felt like it was going to draw me to want to get to that point in the book, and it just didn't. It was a DNF for me, so very sad start to March. Moving right along, this was actually the 3rd book that I read in March, and that is Superb and Sexy, another Jill Shalvis. Now listen, this was another one where I saw the title and I saw this like, you know, basically making out couple on the cover, and I sort of knew what I was in for, but because I'm a Jill Shalvis fan, I hoped that it was going to be a little bit more nuanced. Not really. So, Superb and Sexy is about a brooding, bad boy attitude having luxury charter airline pilot named Brody. Things become complicated after an insanely passionate or perhaps just insane kiss he shares with their gorgeous, wide-cracking concierge, Maddie. He tries to keep his distance, but when she desperately needs his help, it triggers his alpha male urges he didn't even know he had. Sorry. Especially after he finds out that Maddie and her twin sister Lena are in big trouble. To save Lena, Maddie and Brody must pose as husband and wife. Good plan, except it's hard to tell if the heat in the bed is acting or something too good to pass up. Listen, once again, I'm not knocking romance as a genre for using cliches, using tropes. Pretend marriage or pretend relationship is a well-beloved thing in the genre. That being said, like, put a little bit of spin on it, right? Like, you will like reading the same thing over and over, but it doesn't need to be the same thing over and over. It needs to be a fresh new way to approach the same thing over and over. This was not that for me. Again, physical reading journal, a little bit angry. Right when I finished the book, I wrote, just read your favorite authors long enough and you'll find books you don't like. Literally, this entire plot could be summed up as a male character saying, I'm going to save you. And then a female character replying, no, I'm gonna save you. I wrote boring, predictable, and honestly way too sexual. I felt the bad guy was poorly written and sort of unclear, sort of just like an embodiment of evil for evil's sake, in which you don't understand why he's even doing the things he's doing. We didn't get to see play out in scene any examples of his like violent evil tendencies until the end, where he seemed to just lose his mind for like no reason. Also, I don't know if this is a spoiler, again, it's a very old book, but like the whole thing is one sister is helping him in his like shady backed, I don't even remember this book if I'm being honest, but I know he's like doing some sort of like fake jewelry making business to like screw people out of money, and like one sister he needs as a jewelry designer, and then when they like fake switch places, the other one just randomly also knows jewelry design. Make it make sense. Also, you're just sweeping under the rug this whole like self-defense murder that happens in here. Like, it's in the past by the time you're reading this book, but like, girl, we just really swept that away, and I'm not judging or anything, but like, just a lot, that's all I'm saying. As the case in most like mediocre romances, I think the ending felt lazy and kind of too neat and just all brought together with a bow. I described the male lead as painfully stereotypical. Female lead was way too slow to accept help, and I mean way too slow. We literally keep up the argument of I'm going to protect you, no, I'm going to protect you, until chapter 28 of 29. Seriously. Like, somebody just figure it out already. Again, all this to say, I am still a Jill Chavez fan. I still love a lot of Jill Chavez books. Nothing against her as an author. A little bit against this book in particular. It just wasn't for me. I didn't get it. I didn't really understand it, if I'm being quite honest. For me, it was a 2. It was not unreadable by any means, and if you are into that sort of thing, have at it. No judgment from me. Just wasn't for me. Had to be a 2. And now I can sum things up with the second book that I read in the month of March, which is actually my favorite book of March, Garlic and the Vampire by Bree Paulsen. Now, the super weird thing is this is a graphic novel that I had never heard of before the day that I bought it. My husband likes graphic novels, and I was in the bookstore with him, just kind of looking over his shoulder in that section, and I randomly came across this book, and I'd never seen anything quite like it. I don't know how to describe, like, most graphic novels tend to be in a particular style or genre that's not really for me. This is so cute. Like, it's sort of young readery, but I think it's appropriate. Like, an adult, I'm an adult and I enjoyed it. I always forget I'm an adult, you know? Let me just read you what it's about. Garlic feels as though she's always doing the wrong thing. No matter how much her friend Carrot and the kindly witch Agnes encourage her, Garlic just wants to tend her own garden where it's nice and safe. But when the village of vegetable people learns that a bloodthirsty vampire may have moved into a nearby castle, they all agree that despite her fear and self-doubt, Garlic is the obvious choice to confront him. And with everyone counting on her, Garlic reluctantly agrees to face the mysterious vampire. So, like, obviously a little bit of it is, like, young reader because it's, you know, it's personified vegetables. And it's this, like, very cute message of believing in yourself. But also, it's just, like, so pretty and engaging. And, like, what is a funnier concept than, like, an anxious piece of garlic having to, like, fight a vampire? Also, not to go too far into this, but unfortunately, I identify with this anxiety-ridden little piece of garlic on like a deep spiritual level. I thought she was so cool and so cute as a main character, and like, I just loved it. Was it the longest piece of entertainment? No, like I could have read this in like an hour, but you don't, because you want to take your time with it and you want to appreciate all these like gorgeous illustrations. And it's just like, Are you kidding? It's so good. I liked this so much more than I thought I would, and honestly it turned me on to like a whole new type of reading and a whole new genre that I don't really visit that much, and it's made me excited to maybe get more into graphic novels. For that reason, this was honestly an easy 4 for me. My only real complaints were obviously that it was a little bit short and it was a little bit YA, but it just like makes me happy, you know? It's not stressful, it's not like work intensive, it's not something I really have to think about, like it just makes me happy. And I think that's an underrated thing to read. It was beautiful, it was a no-brainer. It's a 4. Well, friends, that is all that I have today. Like I said, wasn't the biggest reading month for me, and that's okay. I have a lot more books I'm very excited to get into, and I will make videos about those, obviously, as I go. I hope that you will come back and join me so we can talk about more books. It is always my favorite thing in the world to do. Alright, bye guys.